going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the life, in the crazy life that is the digital asset space. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It's June 3rd of 2022. I'm finally getting this recording out at 11:55 a.m. on Central Time. Wow, man, shout out. I got to tell you, I'm excited about sharing this interview with Linda P. Jones and Jimmy Vallee. Holy, the guy that him and his people and his firm, his company, whatever it is there that proposed the buying of XRP, or the turning over, if you will, of XRP to the United States Federal Reserve. And I got to tell you, this dude goes into Linda was brilliant. She was brilliant. And the what, the where, and the how, and the why this all took place. And it's groundbreaking. I got to figure out what the title of this freaking video is going to be. This is absolutely, if you don't get it after listening to this, you just don't get it. You're not a believer. You don't believe that it can happen for you. And I hate to say that to you, but after listening to this, if you don't get it, then you just don't believe that it can happen for you. And we've got to change that, my friend. You got to get that you are deserving, that you are worthy. Especially if you've been an XRP hodler from 2016. You're worthy and deserving, and it's possible. And the people who talk about freaking market caps and all this nonsense, like, they don't get it. They don't understand the bigger picture. Well, Jimmy Vallee is going to lay down a bigger picture. And for me, what I got from this interview is, why would the Fed consider this? Why would the United States Treasury even look into this, if you will? It cleared it up for me. It really did. We got to get into that. I don't know how much Twitter stuff I'm going to share. There's so much to share from this interview. It's really stuff. And of course, we'll get into the market. So listen, guys, this is your XRP Ripple daily news in around 0 to 10 minutes. Let's go with the numbers real quick, because the market is doing, holy moly, what the market does. The Bitcoin dominance is at 44.3%. Yeah, that's not a great number. The total cryptocurrency market cap is at 1.27 trillion. By the way, it's down from an all-time high of over 3 trillion. Okay, let us not forget that. It's down from 3 trillion. Let us not forget that. Bitcoin is at $29,549 again. Ethereum is at $1,762 again. XRP is at 38.7 cents again. You guys know where I'm going with this. Until we get back to 3 trillion, what does it really matter? Swing traders or day traders, congrats. I'm happy for you. I hope you are becoming part of the new 1%. I wish nothing but success in every single trade. Every single trade. I wish you nothing but success, my friends. But the market is just doing what the market does. It just, that's what it is. It's been sideways in this channel or range for goodness gracious, who knows how long, but it is doing what it does. Let us not forget that. All right, let me see. What do I want to share with you guys from Twitter? All right, Twitter. Watch the Guru says, breaking. Japan has passed a bill that recognizes the legal status of stable coins with investor protection demands. They didn't ban them. A legal status for stable coins. Get that? Now listen to this. I don't know what this Jasmine and all this stuff will be. I don't know what that is. But the Oracle, whoever that is saying Jasmine will be the Bitcoin version to Japan and the XRP's version for the United States. Every country is setting the motion for their version of a new currency. Don't get left behind. So in any case, right? Japan has passed a bill that recognizes the legal status of stable coins. Japan happens to be a G7 nation. Just keep that in mind. The G7 nation as we continue on. Brad Garlinghouse talking about the CEO, talking about regulation in the States. I don't want to play that, but I think this is important here. Shout out to Michael at About 5 Links. We appreciate you, my guy. A bill that targets proof of work mining was approved by the New York State Senate on Friday, June the 3rd, in order to address some of the environmental concerns that have been raised about cryptos. Here's what I will say about what's going on in New York. Where does the freaking institutional Wall Street players happen to reside? Yeah, in New York. Can you, for the life of you, figure out why the state of New York would be so against Bitcoin, digital assets mining? Do you think it's because they're concerned about the environment in New freaking York? Who do you think pulls the strings? If Wall Street pulls the strings for the country, and in fact, the capital markets pull the strings for the world, what do you think they're doing in the state of New York? That's what this is to me, and nothing else. And nothing else. That's what this is about. Wall Street trying to control the digital assets. Ultimately, understand, for me, digital assets represents a level playing field. It allows us to have control and choices of our own money. It allows us to walk away from traditional financial products. Hello, traditional financial products. Isn't that Wall Street? Yeah. Jake Chervisky, interestingly enough, says, you wouldn't believe the tricks the New York Senate had to pull to pass the Bitcoin mining ban in the dark of night. E.g., they had to reassign the bill to get around the Environmental Conservation Committee, which was against the ban. He says it's not over yet. Governor Hochul can still veto. Yeah, I think it's still over. I'm not sure if it really matters because, look, if you're in the pocket, you're in the pocket. This is New York State. If there's a place that Wall Street has an influence, you see what I'm saying? It's in New York, right? So that is the deal there. Is this another one? I did it twice there. So, and this is who is this? Smoking Ultra Mega with King Fatty here. I remember this tweet from David Schwartz. It can't be dirt cheap, talking about XRP. That doesn't make any sense. If XRP costs $1, they need 1 million XRP, which would cost 1 million. If XRP costs $1 million, they need 1 XRP, which would again cost 1 million. Remember those words from David Schwartz. Let's get into this interview because I'm telling you, this is breaking. I mean, this is an absolute genuine, an absolute gem of an interview that Linda P. Jones did. And boy, was this just an absolute eye opener. It's very, very important to understand that this dude, Jimmy Vallee, his background, this is just not some dude. You got to understand his professional background. So we're going to, this is going to be a little lengthy of a video, but I think it's important to just really, really get it. So let me go back here.
Jimmy, being an attorney, emerges an acquisition expert. Jimmy, being an attorney, emerges an acquisition expert and a securities lawyer. He is skilled in many ways that allow him to do a professional analysis and render his opinion. And that's what he's done in this conversation. It's my belief Jimmy tried to perform a service to the XRP community because he had the skills, experience, and knowledge to do it. That will all unfold as you listen to this interview. And I have to warn you, you're going to hear some large numbers projected for the value of XRP. These may or may not ever come to fruition. Use your discernment and do more research. This is not hype. It's not meant to be hype. Please don't take it that way. but using a professional's opinion, you will hear all the background justification that's used in the industry, in real mergers and acquisitions. And
I got to say that that's what I came away with. And so Linda does a really great job of kind of prefacing, if you will, this interview and getting you kind of up to speed so that you're prepared mentally to be open to the information and to kind of, right, sometimes, right, it's challenging when you're not in the know to be in the know to be able to wrap your mind around a thing, right? Like I remember for me, as an air traffic controller in the nation's top level facility, right, which means the top level facility in the world, right? I remember when you trying to explain to someone, my neighbor, how it all worked and how it's all possible for you to communicate with 30 or 35 planes at a time and keep them from running into each other. Like the neighbor couldn't get it. Right? So if you're not in that profession and you're not doing that thing, it's hard to get it because you're not in the profession. Jimmy is in the profession, mergers and acquisitions. That was his reference to pursue, if you will. That was the foundation to pursue what he went to pursue. Because he understands how the markets and stuff work. You're going to hear some stuff in this interview. I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. And listen, if there's ever a time to understand this phrase, know what you hold. If there was ever a moment in time for you to get that, to understand that, it is now. Know what you hold. You guys remember I've been talking for the last few videos. I've been talking about, man, do I need to do something with this Dash, this EOS, and this Ethereum Classic? This Bitcoin Cash? Do I need to get more XRP than what we've been blessed to have? Do I need to get more XLM than we've been blessed to have? I mean, blessed. Is Ethereum Classic discussed amongst the G? Here's a great question for you. Is Ethereum Classic discussed amongst the G7 nations? Is Dash discussed the point? No, let me do EOS. Is EOS being discussed amongst the G7 nations? You tell me. Please let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. By the way, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. What do you think? Hey, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I own EOS, I own Ethereum Classic. Do you think Ethereum Classic and EOS are being discussed amongst the G7 nations? By the way, in October of 2021, remember G7 nations came together on agreement of central bank digital currencies. Do you think that was the only thing they talked about? You think they talked about Bitcoin, proof of work mining? Do you think they talked about Ethereum? Do you think they possibly had a discussion about the top 10 to 20 digital assets? Do you think they understand where we're going? Do you think they understand what assets are going to be of value moving forward? And if you think they do you think Ethereum Classic made the cut? Do you think EOS made the cut? That is a great question. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm thinking, yeah, nah. Here's what I would know more so than what I don't know. I would think there would be more of a conversation about XRP than there would be about Ethereum Classic. XLM happens to be getting in the CBDC thing as well. I think that probably is more of a discussion about XLM than there is about EOS. What do you think? All right, let's listen some more.
Real valuing of assets. People always want to know when. What's the timeline? When moon? I don't know. It may take years for XRP to get to the level that Jimmy's talking about, or it may never get there. So, in the meantime, what I recommend is we stay grounded. We stay rational. We don't do anything based on the information given here. Consider this for entertainment purposes only, and use your discernment. Please don't make any financial moves based on what you hear here today. This is a long interview. It's almost an hour and a half because it's thorough and we cover every angle that I think deserved to be inspected a little bit more closely from what Jimmy said before. Now, Jimmy's prior interview got him a lot of harassment to the point where he actually left Twitter. My hope is that this information isn't carelessly spread around, isn't criticized without reason, but is looked at with a critical eye to see what an expert in mergers and acquisitions, in valuation of assets, sees as the value of XRP, and sees what is clouding the title, if you will, of XRP at this time, which is one of the things keeping its price down. I think the XRP community is going to take this interview in the right spirit, that of deep professional information to add to our base of knowledge that we already have. So I really hope you enjoy this interview as much as I think you will. Here we go.
Yeah, and also, so the cloud of title thing is hugely important to understand and get that. That's a mergers and acquisition type of thing, a mentality, right? So that's kind of lingo in that space, if you will, right? Air traffic controllers have phraseology. These are words or terms that we use and understand in our circle, right? So close the title is kind of one of those. And Jimmy's going to kind of lay some things out. A cloud of title. It's going to make you really, really understand some stuff. Again, it really was an eye opener for me. I know you're telling me to shut up, get to the interview, but it's really, really important to kind of get it from a bigger perspective. And at the end of this interview, you're going to get what is that thing that could possibly escalate this whole XRP proposal, exponentially. And it looks like, from a geopolitical perspective, the escalator factor is in play. It's currently in play. So guys, make sure you stay to the very end of this video. I'm telling you, groundbreaking.
I am so excited to have Jimmy Vallee with me today of Val Hill Capital. Jimmy has been in the XRP community for a period of time, but I wanted to bring him on the show because of a past deal that Jimmy made that I really felt needed a little bit of clarifying. And so, Jimmy, I've invited you here today to talk about that deal and just to get everything out in the open. So how are you doing?
I'm great, Linda. It's great to be with you. I'm a huge fan of your channel, and I've read your book, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Me too. I think one of the things that the XRP community might not be aware of is your professional background. So tell us about your work experience, would you?
Sure, happy to do that. So really, as it relates to the proposed transaction, before we launched Val Hill Capital more publicly in 2020, I practiced corporate securities law and mostly M&A transactions for 3 big law firms for over 20 years, and was basically involved in multiple public-to-public mergers, big joint ventures. Since my practice was in Houston, notably a lot of the transactions I worked on was in oil and gas, but yeah, did that. So probably the most marquee transaction that I worked on was we represented Continental and its merger with United Airlines. We were on the Continental side. You know, that deal took 6 years to do. We actually started it in 2004. We didn't sign it till 2010. So that helps with perspective a little bit about how long these things can take sometimes. I represented Oklahoma Gas and Electric in its merger with CenterPoint Energy's midstream business to create a new mega midstream business, $11 billion transaction to create Enable Midstream that we then took public after that. So we kind of had an IPO securities offering. On more of the technology side, I represented Micron Technology in a massive, it was about $5.2 billion, as I recall, joint venture with Intel to manufacture what was called NAND flash wafers, which went into, at that time, the iPods and laptops and things like that. So it was things of this nature, ton of private equity transactions in a lot of different sectors. We had consumer products, private equity, tech, and then a lot of energy.
Incredible. So you're an attorney. You work in mergers and acquisitions. That's M&A for anyone not familiar with that. But you also worked in securities law, right?
That's correct. Yeah, my whole career I was a securities lawyer. So, you learn the Howey test. Like I learned that in law school. But, you learn that, right away. And, I was fortunate enough, the type of practice I had, we had a lot of public company clients. So we were always doing, 8K filings and all the form filings when a director was selling securities of a public company and all that stuff. Of course, the more exciting things to be doing was the securities work in connection with an M&A transaction when you had to register securities that were going to be used as consideration in the transaction, or of course, the big thing is an IPO, initial public offering. You'd have an army of people, working on that, be down at the printer, till 4 a.m, ticking and tying every comma in the prospectus document and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, did that kind of, that was part of my practice, the entire time.
Interesting. So you were an experienced securities lawyer, and then you invested in XRP.
That's correct. So, but I wasn't practicing, obviously. Well, no, I think I still was practicing. I didn't leave the practice till the summer of 2020. So when we first started making investments in digital assets, I was still practicing. And I guess you're like, why did you do that?
How did you hear about XRP, and why did you invest in it?
I recall hearing about cryptocurrency and the buzz in 2017. I had clients of mine who were really experienced in, because the bull run was occurring in Bitcoin. I think it happened a little later for XRP, kind of rolling into the new year of 2018. But I was one of these people, like, what are you doing? You're going to lose all your money. Like, I had no idea what this cryptocurrency thing was about, or why anybody would spend any time, looking into it or working on it. I'd say that really started to change. So starting in 2020, I was hearing more about it, hearing more about different projects doing kind of M&A related things. So I was aware there was kind of more of a...
All right, hold on, guys. I have to tend to something here. So let me pause this. And I will be back in a bit. All right, guys. So I apologize. That took me a lot longer than I thought. We had an water issue for the last about 24 hours, roughly 24 hours. So we've been out without water. But we did finally get that situated. It's pretty great stuff going on so far. Again, shout out to freaking Leonard P. Jones in this interview. Absolutely outstanding questions, and did a really great job of really clearing some stuff up. So let's continue to check out this dude, Jimmy Vallee. Or not. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have to refresh? I might have to refresh this because my computer does the sleeping of the tabs thing. Hold on a second.
Looking into it or working on it. I'd say that really started to change. So starting in 2020, I was hearing more about it, hearing more about different projects doing kind of M&A related things. So I was aware there was kind of more of a growing market, right? Not unlike energy or tech generally, or consumer products. And so That's what kind of keyed my interest. I really went hard into it as a result of the pandemic. We were all working from home.
Okay, so that's kind of his background, right, into how he got an XRP. Let me skip over to minute 35.
It's what the price was in a manipulated retail market that is through these exchanges. It's what the we believe the asset has a present value far in excess of what it's trading on the market. The market is encumbered by the lawsuit, right?
Right.
As well as the unknown stuff that's behind the lawsuit that we didn't know. We know a lot more now, but we didn't know that.
We know about ETHgate now. We didn't know about it then.
To say it plainly, we know about ETHgate. We didn't know for sure that ETHgate existed at that time in the way that it's played out. There was a little bit of a, okay, how do we go about establishing fair market value in this context where, the government is basically suing the company, and basically the way that was working? How do we, go about establishing fair market value? What fair market value is basically what a willing buyer and a willing seller are willing to trade at, having all of the information, right? So everybody would have known about ETHgate, and everybody would have known about the private ledgers and things like that, things that we would come to learn later on down the road.
And that's a very, very important thing that what he's really doing. I'm telling you, he's taking us all to school and educating and leveling us up about this, this fair market value. What does that really, really look like? From someone who's in the know about XRP and the XRP ledger and the IOP, and someone on the other end who is about to enter into a financial agreement, who also understands the true fair market value of XRP. And it is not what he's saying is, it's not what you and I see. It's not what you and I see on CoinGecko. It's not what you and I see on, I'm not going to even mention the other one, but it's not what you and I see on CoinGecko. It's not what we see on KuCoin, Awesome Exchange. It's not what we see on Binance US, Awesome Exchange. It's not what we see on FTX US, Awesome Exchange. That's not it. In the world of market makers, in the world in these mergers and acquisitions, in the world of this, the higher levels in these capital markets, the price that you're seeing on these exchanges is not a fair market value. And there are those people who really, 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 really know it. And you're going to come to see later on in this interview some examples of that, which is just mind-boggling to me.
But if everybody knew all that information and they weren't being compelled to transact, what would they transact at? And so that's the theory behind proposing a transaction, is to begin to establish what fair market value is outside the case. Keep in mind, there's been tons of damages, right? Like when we get to the end of this case and we look back and we've got all of the information about ETHgate, the corruption, all that stuff, it will be at that time that it occurs to everyone the trillions and trillions of dollars of damages that have occurred by basically not allowing XRP to have its true value.
Trillions and trillions of dollars because of this lawsuit and damages. Trillions and trillions of dollars. Very, 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 very powerful stuff. I'm going to skip over to minute 35 here. Let me pull that up for you guys.
Debt, but that would hurt the investors who basically are holding debt as investment assets, right? So that didn't really seem, anybody can go look up, still available on the web, called the All the Money, It's what the price was in a transaction, is to begin to establish what fair market value is outside the case. Keep in mind, there's been tons of damages, right? Like when we get to the end of this case and we look back and
hold on, I believe here he's getting ready to kind of explain, well, how we came up with that price. I believe Lynn is going to kind of ask, because more and more people want to figure that and determine that out. How did Jimmy Vallee and the people over there at his particular firm come up with that price, 35,000?
You got all of the information about Eastgate, the corruption, all that stuff. It will be at that time that it occurs to everyone the trillions and trillions of dollars of damages that have occurred by basically not allowing XRP to have its true value.
That's right.
Notably because of the lawsuit. So it's going to be at that time that you're having to look back and say, well, what did people think the fair market value was at the time? Well, they won't be saying it's what the price was in a manipulated retail market that is through these exchanges, which we've come to understand are actually controlled by the same legacy banking system, right? So it had to be kind of that mindset. And then we went through a classic, valuation type exercise process. I think when we initially proposed the transaction was September 13th of 2021. We had a $25,000, I think, per XRP price. It's basically valuing everything that had to get equitized, or at least most of it, to a $2.5 quadrillion, all the money type concept. We ultimately then in October, because we learned more about various things, but we ended up proposing a higher price. I think the last one was $37.5 that we proposed October 29th. We went through. There were several different kind of valuation methods we used. We looked at the AFNI Michnik model, which Susan Athey, I think, is her name. She was a Stanford master's professor. She was on the board at Ripple. And then Robert Michnik, he was at Stanford in the master's program, I think, when they did their white paper on how to model digital asset or how to value digital assets. And they looked at Bitcoin and looked at XRP. So we had that. That was from 2018. We applied that same methodology and looking at stuff, but that model kind of looks at which I think is the way most people think about it, kind of this gradual adoption type of a process, right? So, it's going to start out at $1, go up to $5, $10, $20. That's the way most people think it's going to happen. We were basically trying to go to the end and say, no, what's the fully realized value of the ledger? And therefore, what's the implied value of an XRP? And basically discount. We did a discounted kind of a modified DCF, discounted cash flow type valuation as well. And then the other piece that was critical was this kind of this collateralization of the ledger, which is going back to a gold standard, or is it going to be just gold? Is it going to be gold, other precious metals, oil and gas? We thought for the Middle East countries to come along with this type of a thing, you would need to value oil and gas in the basket of precious commodities in order to figure out what each country's kind of in place resources are. But it was kind of that type of exercise. We had a lot of information. There was
you can see the due diligence and the homework and all the work that they put in to coming up with this evaluation. It was not just something and some random number. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have in the digital asset space is we have been but we think about the market cap all the time. And I think and I guess we're kind of trained and conditioned to think that way. But what Jimmy is really saying, and you hear it later on in this interview as well, how we always talk about over-the-counter? How we talk about that over-the-counter stuff? And so over-the-counter stuff doesn't affect the market, right? Over-the-counter doesn't affect the market. When if I was to have some agreement with someone who maybe I was wearing an XRP hat and he approached me and it's like, You're a big fan of XRP. I'm a big fan of XRP, man. Love it. Yeah, you me too. And he just says to me, I would be willing to pay you $100 per XRP right now. And let's say I agree to that. We draw it up. We draw up this agreement. There it is, right? I get it to my attorney, right? He has his attorney look it over. There it is, written 100 per. And we exchange the XRP wallets, right? So I can send it. He can send it. Whatever that I can send it to him, right? He can send me the money. Maybe he sends me dirty, nasty fiat, right? Whatever it is. And that's an agreement. How does that? You tell me. How does that affect the market? All of you might be saying, well, why would he pay $100 on CoinGecko is 40 cents? Why would he do that? Why won't he just wait? I don't know. But he just thinks that it's worth that. Maybe he knows something. Who knows? But the point is, an agreement can be reached. It could be, instead of $100, it could be 10. Instead of $10 currently today, he could say $1. Like, it doesn't really matter. If I'm willing to sell it and he's willing to pay it, what does it matter? Just think about
that. There was one document, which anybody can go look up, still available on the web, called the All the Money infographic. We looked at all those sources. We brought those sources down because they were all old numbers, 2019 numbers, as I recall. So we had to bring those down to 2021.
By the way, my point to all that is it doesn't, it may not make sense, but it doesn't matter if it makes sense. If I agree on a price and he agrees on a price, that's my point. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's just that what matters is we both agreed upon it, right? You could call that person crazy. Like for example, think about this for it, right? You could think that dude is crazy. He's gonna pay you $1 on. He can get it for 40 cents. Does it matter if everyone's agreed on the price? It doesn't matter. Is it likely? I don't know. Maybe he sees greater benefits to it. Maybe he knows someone who told him, man, today I'd pay $5 for XRP if I can get it. I don't know. But my point is, if it's agreed upon price, it's agreed upon price. And once you hear the bigger picture as to the incentive for the federal government, the United States Treasury, I think it'll make more sense to you. I know for me, it made more sense, and it doesn't have anything to do with the total market cap that people get hung up with.
Those were kind of the three valuation models we looked at. Basically we put out that value, but there's other terms in the deal as well as far as consideration. You learn first year in law school in your property course, you learn about property being a bundle of sticks, okay? And so it's really just a bundle of separate rights. There's the rights to possess it. There's the rights to direct it. There's, in securities, you can vote them sometimes. You see what I'm saying? It's got all these indicia of property rights that are bundled into this asset, right? So one of the big things that XRP has, that several digital assets have, that XRP notably has, is the right to receive airdrops. There had already been the Flare snapshot, the Sologenic snapshot was coming up. So there was all these, there was the NFT project that's running on XRPL out of Italy, Elysius tokens or something?
Yeah, Elysian, yeah.
Elysian. So, there were all these rights, right, if you will, to receive tokens that hadn't even been issued yet that we didn't think just because you handed over your XRP in connection with the deal, you should lose that particular right. So we bifurcated that property right. We basically said, we'll basically fork that right off into a new type of an asset. We called it the residual airdrop right. And the person would still have whatever that XRP that they were holding before was going to get in airdrops. Whether we know them now or in the future, they would still get them now or in the future.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, but
It's now becoming very, I guess, more of your retail, everyday consumer people would, have not only the debt burdens on them. It's now becoming very mainstream. It wasn't then. That the Fed's kind of stuck. It is such a unique moment in time to kind of have this brand new asset on the scene that we can basically have everybody come.
Hold on, guys. I'm trying to figure out where he said it would, the kind of benefits to the Fed. Hold on.
Had all of the right elements to be able to look at this deal on behalf of the XRP community, which is really what you were doing, is proposing. Had all of the right.
Some recognition to compensate the damages that XRP holders have experienced because of the SEC's actions and the SEC and maybe others. So things like debt forgiveness and tax holidays were basically added in to terms of the transaction to really compensate the people that walked through the hellfire. Discounted cash flow type valuation as well. And then discounted cash flow, everybody can go look up, still available on the web, called the All the Money infographic. We looked at all those sources. We brought those sources down because they were all old numbers, 2019 numbers, as I recall. So we had to bring those down to 2021. Those were kind of the three valuation models we looked at. Basically we put out that value, but there's other terms in the deal as well as far as consideration. You learn first year in law school in your property course, you learn about property being a bundle of sticks, okay? And so it's really just a bundle of separate rights. There's the rights to possess it. There's the rights to direct it. There's, and securities, you can vote them sometimes. You see what I'm saying? It's got all these indicia of property rights that are bundled into this asset, right? So one of the big things that XRP has, that several digital assets have, that XRP notably has, all these rights, right? All these some recognition to compensate the damages that XRP holders have experienced because of the SEC's actions and the SEC and maybe others.
Had all of the right elements to be able to look at this deal on behalf of the XRP community, which is really what you were doing, is proposing something that would benefit everyone at a higher price level, because you understood that the Federal Reserve issues the currency. Here we are during the pandemic at that time, seeing more and more trillions issued, more debt issued, and you're looking at 2.5 quadrillion of obligations, including derivatives and the bond market, which is debt. And, when they create currency, it creates debt that the people have to pay the Federal Reserve back for. So you were actually looking at a way to retire all that debt, in a sense, end the old currency and complete that transaction by having them to offer us an amount for XRP that would forgive all of that debt, in a sense. Is that right?
That's exactly right. If you just break it down to like the fundamental accounting equation, assets minus liabilities equals equity. It was, what lever can we pull to kind of rebalance this, right? Rebalance this debt system, which is clearly out of control. And you could do a debt jubilee. You could forgive all the debt, but that would hurt the investors who basically are holding debt as investment assets, right? So that didn't really seem fair. We really thought it was just this elegant solution, because if you wrote up the gold, it would have been kind of the same issue as taking the debt down. Then the people who just happen to be holding gold would experience this windfall in the write-up of the asset, right? That not everybody holds a whole bunch of gold, because we were taking off the gold standard 50 years ago. But here we had this brand new asset class that really hadn't been valued yet. It is such a unique moment in time to kind of have this brand new asset on the scene that we can basically have everybody come together and say, well, we're just going to say the fair market value of that asset is, way up here. And that would end up, basically re-equitizing. It would keep the debt holders whole. It would make a very small amount of people extremely wealthy. But, when we were looking at it, that's kind of a small price to pay.
And that is a absolutely magnificent point. It would make the debt holders whole. Now, he's speaking, the debt holders obviously are the central banks of the world. But the fact that he talks about making the debt holders whole, WHOLE, I think is significant. Because my thing has always been, well, what is the Fed or the Treasury, what are they going to get out of that proposal? Well, he's talking about collateralizing the XRP ledger. There's been a lot of talk about collateralization on the ledger. It's been a lot of talk outside of crypto on this collateralization, right? And this new digital economy, instead of being debt-based, but becoming asset-based, commodity-based. And there's a good chance that XRP is going to be in the commodity realm, if you will, whether it be as a currency or something else. I think there's a reason why there was 100 billion XRP. I read something from Arthur Brito himself in a text, like an email slant text, that said that there's enough XRP for thousands of years. For thousands of years. We get people like Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We get the people like FinCEN. We get the people like the FCA, who are all speaking to the attributes of XRP as an asset and or currency. So again, we're talking G7 nations like Japan and the UK. We're talking about major nations like Singapore, who are all seeing this XRP as an asset. Do you understand what I'm saying? And surely the IMF understands the value of XRP. You ever might think, I'm going to show you this agreement with the G7 and the CBDCs, and the G7 nations agreeing on 16 different things of a CBDC. The G7 nations, and what I'm wondering, and I'm just thinking out loud, is I'm wondering if Kristalina Georgieva and what's her name from the ECB, Madame Lagarde, right? Surely they know what took place at the G7 meeting. So I'm wondering if it's smoking, that this whole CBDC thing is smoke and mirrors. Not that there won't be a CBDC, but here's the thing, and he just said this, Jimmy just said this. He said that, the debtors would be made whole, right? So these are these nations, these central banks, they're going to be made whole from this proposal. right? Not just the Federal Reserve, but just made whole, right? In other words, debt, whatever. Now they've been able to kind of retransform this debt now and have collateral, whatever that's going to look like, right? For the nations, right? Which means if nations no longer have to print money, if nations are no longer in debt, that benefits the citizens, right? From, it gives them nations to kind of redo or reset their monetary policy, which could possibly mean less taxes, which could possibly mean this or that. It would be better for the citizens, right? And then he said, and a few people who happen to be XRP holders would become wealthy, right? And I got to thinking about that, right? And I remember thinking, that happens all the time. Something like that happens all the time. Oil, for example, is a great example. So is gold, quite frankly. But oil, there are a few people who happen to be in the oil space at a time where they knew and realized the value of oil before the rest of the world knew and realized the value of oil. And they were in a position to take advantage of that. The world citizens, the citizens of the world, did not become wealthy and create generational wealth because of oil. Is that fair to you and I? Can we complain and write in to our local congressperson because some other person became wealthy and created generational wealth because they knew of the value of oil and either were in a position that it was on their land or they were in a position to take advantage of some company that was going to do something on it, whatever it is. There was this commodity and there were people who created generational wealth because of that commodity called oil. But the world citizens didn't all create generational wealth. Do you understand what I'm saying? The citizens of the world that know about oil, knew about oil, whatever it is, have advantages because of oil, have a better life because of it, but everyone didn't create generational wealth. So why is it so far beyond so many people's fathom? Why is it so beyond so many people being able to wrap it around their brain that they could possibly be in a position where they were just at the right place at the right time and in the know and decided to take action? I'd be willing to bet. I don't know. I wasn't around back in the days of discovering oil, but I bet you were some people who were saying, yeah, oil, it's never going to get to this price. Yeah, oil, yeah, we're never going to use it. We got whatever. Coal, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, oil, yeah, that's not going to take. Yeah, oil, yeah, that's not going to become a thing. Don't you think that happened? Don't you think they were running around making, don't you think they were going around making arguments about the total market cap? Don't you think that took place? I think so. I think so. Anyway, I think this video has gone on long enough. I'm gonna play 3.5 more minutes here, but let me go to this here. But you understand what I'm saying? He said central banks, being able to leverage it, whatever they're going to do, collateralize it, make whole, and because the central banks of nations as a whole, it will trickle down to its citizens in terms of monetary policy and stuff that can benefit them. And then he said, which benefits the regular citizens of the world, right? So central banks and the citizens, two people, and then there just happens to be the people who own XRP, people who just happen to be at the right place at the right time and decided to make the decision with it and take a chance, a risk, a gamble on it. Is the world, if this happens, if this happens, is the world going to create, every citizen of the world going to have generational wealth? Of course not. Of course not. That's just the way it is, right? That's just the way it is, guys. Let me go to minute 35. I'm gonna have to watch this thing again and again and again.
And
I guess more of your retail, everyday consumer people would, have not only the debt burdens on them, these taxing burdens relieved from them. And, gosh, just imagine the uplift in humanity of being, and, they would be using it kind of on the back, and it's now becoming very mainstream. It wasn't then. That the Fed's kind of stuck, if they raise rates anymore, they're going to slam us into, a recession or worse. If they just go back to QE, quantitative easing, and continue the trillion-dollar money printing, that's going to inflate us into oblivion. It was a real elegant solution, we thought. It was also going to serve the side purposes of collateralizing the XRPL with its real full value. People would start to be able to trade right away, and we kind of saw the central banks would be taking the XRP back in by doing the transaction, and they would be using it kind of on the back end to do, like I said, instead of flying gold or other precious commodities around in military aircraft, they could just be bing bing, pinging each other with these XRP transactions to settle up. And the rest of us would be filtering over time. There's the people who will be participants, we call them the participating token holders. People who will be participants in the transaction are going to be kind of a different class of people almost as a result of that, right? And it'll be generations as their wealth is distributed amongst their families and for charitable causes and things like that. And then I guess more of your retail, everyday consumer people would, have not only the debt burdens on them, these taxing burdens relieved from them. And, gosh, just imagine the uplift in humanity of being free from taxes alone. Everybody was going to benefit in a very, very positive way, even though the XRP token holders were going to materially benefit in a very major way.
yes, so I think what people had a hard time wrapping their head around was the fact that XRP was selling for, let's say, under $1, and you were proposing $35,000, let's say, and why couldn't the Fed just buy it off the exchanges? But it's not about them buying it off the exchange or buying it in that way. It's about retiring their debt and getting rid of the total debt that's outstanding, and that's the disconnect that I think most people really didn't understand, that I want to make sure that we describe.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a great point. And again, shout out to Linda P. Jones for making this interview happen and really recognizing the disconnects in the community. Certainly, we don't worry about the people outside of the community who just don't want it to happen. But inside the community, trying to wrap their brain around the possibility of something kind of like this happening. And she's pointing out, again, why the Fed would do such a thing, central banks, United States Treasury, whatever. Why would they consider doing such a thing? It's a great point.
Say, and why couldn't the Fed just buy it off the exchanges? But it's not about them buying it off the exchange or buying it in that way. It's about retiring their debt and getting rid of the total debt that's outstanding, and that's the disconnect that I think most people really didn't understand, that I want to make sure that we describe clearly here.
Mm-hmm. We tried very hard to get all this out even before we ever threw the deal out there. Get these concepts of how do you establish fair market value for an asset and things like that. And unfortunately, we just live in a time that we read headlines and we hear sound bites, and that's what informs us. There's not a lot of pulling back the onion one layer and going a little deeper. But you're right. The driver for the Fed think about it as a legacy banking system, to do the transactions, because they were going to be able to set the price in a way that established fair market value for the asset and effectively collateralized the debt, right? So if most debt is synthetic, it suddenly was supported by an asset. But you had to do that in an arm's length transaction. That's part of it. And then, the kind of sub pieces of this is if you're using resources that are available to you, like agencies of the government, to do things like bring lawsuits, that then effectively puts a cloud on title. The reason XRP today is, I haven't looked at it today, 40 cents or whatever, right? But the reason it's that is because the institutions have no regulatory clarity. They can't really get into it in a material way because there's effectively a cloud on title. What is the regulatory treatment of XRP? It's still not. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that definitively, right? We need to come to an agreement on that as a collective marketplace, but nobody knows what that is. So the price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more plainly, is that ain't the price. We have done transactions in XRP just like we do with barrels of oil, with cubic feet of gas and stuff like that, where we have priced XRP in a contract with another party for values that are far in excess of what it's ever traded for.
He is saying we as in him and his company. We have done transactions with XRP. So this is a real world live situation that he did with another party. Now you can call both parties crazy if you want, but he said that by far exceeds the price that you're seeing in the market. I don't know what it is. Was it $1? I don't know. Was it $5? I don't know. Was it 10? Was it 50? Was it 100? I don't know. But he is flat out saying that this is what they did, Jimmy Vallee and his company, whatever the name of that is. And forgive me for not knowing what it is, dear Jimmy. But do you understand what's going on? Let me let you listen to that again.
Like agencies of the government to do things like bring lawsuits that then effectively puts a cloud on title. The reason XRP today is, I haven't looked at it today, 40 cents or whatever, right? But the reason it's that is because the institutions have no regulatory clarity. They can't really get into it in a material way because there's effectively a cloud on title. What is the regulatory treatment of XRP? It's still not. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that definitively, right? We need to come to an agreement on that as a collective marketplace, but nobody knows what that is. So the price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more plainly, is that ain't the price.
The price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more clearly. That, my friends, is just a posture statement from someone who gets it, not because he's read what Ripple says, not because he heard David Schwartz. No, he understands the market. I don't know how to say it more clearly, more frankly, more plainly to you, says he. But the price that you're seeing there, that ain't that ain't the price.
We have done transactions in XRP just like we do with barrels of oil, with cubic feet of gas and stuff like that, where we have priced XRP in a contract with another party for values that are far in excess of what it's ever traded for.
For values that are far in excess of what it's traded for. And he's going to explain to you how that is. beyond my layman's terms of, I'm A and I hook up with B and B says, I'll give you this price that's far exceeded the price of XRP. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give you some, not all. Here you go. Draw it up. There it is. The transaction's done. That's my layman's. And trying to understand the who, what, and the why that would happen is like trying to figure out why is it that the sun rises in the east. As my mentor used to say, it is what it is. But he's telling you what goes on in the real world.
And that's because the party on the other side wanted the XRP, right? And we were in a position to be able to sell them material amounts of XRP. And vice versa. We've received XRP at values that are called off-market values. This is happening all the time. This happens in markets every day. We do oil and gas futures contracts and say, I'm going to sell you at this price. That person agrees. That doesn't change the market price of what oil is, right? That doesn't change the NYMEX price. That's our agreement on what we're going to value the oil on. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That needed to be done in an arm's length transaction with people sophisticated enough to do that deal. You know, the market isn't what the price really is. The market is that's what we're being fed. I mean, that's what we're being given.
Right.
We're going to find out, what we're finding out is most of our markets actually, JP Morgan was.
That's a very, very, very powerful point. And I'm going to end the video with that. But that's just from a guy, again, decades of experience in this type of business. Mergers and acquisition expert, decades, lawyer, securities, attorney. He said in the beginning of his history and his background in this space where he has done deals, mergers and acquisition deals in the billions of dollars. A merger and or acquisition in the billions of dollars. He's working on one particular situation. It is priced in the billions. I have a friend whose son is an attorney, very, very, very highly sought after, highly sought after attorney. Like people are vying to get this dude to come work for him, who does currently this type of work, and he does billion-dollar deals in the billions of dollars. Right. So, like, in other words, the field and the space that retail investors work in and live in is not the only space where there's a transaction being taking place. Yeah. And that oil example is a great example. He's saying he's calling it off market. Okay, the off market price. It happens all the time. So when you hear someone talking about this freaking CoinGecko total market cap price stuff, they don't understand. The real question is, do you have XRP or don't you? And is there someone out there who wants XRP or don't they? That's all that matters. That is the bottom line. And he just flat out told you that someone came to him and said, I could give a crap about that. I could get XRP at 40 cents. I'm willing to pay you this for your XRP. He just said that. He said he did a deal with someone on the other end who paid far and beyond the price of XRP that XRP has ever been. And the dude didn't say, well, that would make the total market cap of XRP in the trillions. Oh no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to ruin the XRP total market cap price. Oh man. These people with this total market cap stuff, like, they don't know. That's what I'm going to give them a blessing. I'm going to extend grace and say, they don't know. Now, I didn't know about all these deals going on, and I have been saying time and time again, we have to quit with this total market cap crap. Like, what? Why? It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. It's no different than if a dude needs a tire. And the market is saying the tire is $20. And dude who has the tire says, cool, but I want 25 for the tire. The dude who wants the tire is going to say, cool or not. What Jimmy is saying is, a lot of people are saying, cool, I'll give you $25 for the tire, even though the market said it's only 20. Like, what? It makes no freaking difference, my friends. All right, I've been rambling long enough. I'm so excited about this interview. I just saw a notification. Link2 put up this on their page as well. You can check it out there as well. I still got to upload this video, but boy, I'm excited about it. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to end this video. This wraps up your XRP Ripple Daily News. I'm going to end this video like I do all of my videos and remind you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I are already winning. Have a great rest of the day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.